3 years ago, I made a video about fixing a Guitar Hero controller, and I mentioned I was more of a later arrival to the games. I never had Guitar Hero as a kid, my earliest exposure was playing it at a friend's house in 2012, and by then the series was already completely dead with no chance of revival. None whatsoever. Even then, I still wasn't really into it until 2018 when I discovered Clone Hero, a community-led remake of Guitar Hero, so my exposure to the official games has always been very low. My exposure to its sister series Rock Band was even lower. Rock Band was both a spin-off and a competitor to Guitar Hero. In fact, they were both originally developed by the same studio, Harmonix. After the success of the first two Guitar Hero games, Activision purchased the franchise and its publisher Red Octane and chose to continue development at their own Neversoft subsidiary. Harmonix was also purchased, but by MTV Games, where they took what they'd learned from Guitar Hero and expanded on it with more instruments, which they'd wanted to do even while making Guitar Hero 2. The result was Rock Band in 2007, releasing basically the same time as Activision's Guitar Hero 3. While not quite reaching the same highs as Guitar Hero, Rock Band was highly successful and well received by rhythm gamers in its own right, despite some critical engine flaws.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad.
In the late 2000s, oversaturation ended up severely affecting both series. However, Rock Band actually ended up lasting considerably longer by focusing on DLC expansions rather than frequent major releases. The most recent release of Rock Band 4, was released in 2015, well after the rhythm game boom, and was still being supported as recently as 2024. Contrast that with Guitar Hero Live, also released in 2015, but killed off only 3 years later in 2018. During Rock Band 4's life, it had 2 bundle sets, 1 UI update, an expansion pack adding more songs to the base game, plus an additional 1,088 tracks available through DLC, give or take the legacy tracks and one final Rock Band 3 pack. It even had a mockumentary mode.
You got to focus, I told him, else you're gonna wind up working at the poop factory over on 6th Street.
Real knee slapper right there. But despite all that, the one thing we never got was a PC port. I mean, why not? There was clear demand for it, and the thriving Clone Hero community proved it's possible, so why did Rock Band never cater to any of those players? Well, funnily enough, they did try. By 2011, Harmonix was an independent game developer again, meaning they had a lot of freedom, but not a lot of capital. Historically, Harmonix had partnered with hardware companies like Red Octane, which made sense because hardware is a significant part of the game. In the Rock Band era, with the help of Electronic Arts, they had enough funding to make their own hardware. However, now that they didn't, they ended up turning to a completely different company with hardware and publishing capabilities. None other than Catz. Yep, the people that gave us the N64 Dong controller were also the ones keeping Rock Band afloat for most of the early 2010s. Catz's support allowed Harmonix to release a 4th Rock Band game, but at a significant cost to themselves. The losses were so great that even Harmonix could see the writing on the wall, and in 2016 jumped ship to another co-publisher, PDP, just before Catz went bankrupt the following year. Harmonix was aware of the demand for a PC port, so around the same time they were ditching Catz for PDP, they also turned to crowdfunding platform Fig to try securing funding for it. All they needed, apparently, was a cool 1.5 million, along with another $500,000 they were contributing themselves. The port would be outsourced to Sumo Digital. Not sure if it really takes $2 million to recompile an already complete Xbox One game for Windows. I guess there are a lot of undoubtedly expensive music and instrument licenses involved, but I'd be curious to see how they got to that number. Sadly, the crowdfunding campaign failed, raising only a little over half of its goal, and the plan of a Rock Band 4 PC port died with it. The game itself continued on, but that demand for a PC version of Rock Band, the same demand that generated nearly $800,000 on Fig, never went away. Games like Phase Shift tried to fill the void of Rock Band on PC, but for a lot of people, it just wasn't the same. Thankfully, the story doesn't end there. As you might expect, the community has stepped up to answer the prayers that the corporations haven't. We'll get into all of that really soon, but first, a quick break for our sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is your one-stop shop for making just about anything electronic. They make PCBs, obviously, but they also do plastic injection molding, metal machining, and can even assemble the whole thing for you. They recently invited me to tour their factory, and it is massive. The amount of work and expertise here is absolutely insane, but the results speak for themselves. You really can get an entire gadget created here, and for some upcoming projects of mine, I wouldn't choose anyone else. Be sure to check them out at PCBWay.com, but now back to the Rock Band decompilation. In 2023, a team called MiloHacks covertly began a decompilation of the Wii version of Rock Band 3 under the game's Wii ID, in an attempt to fly under Harmonix's radar. However, following the sunset of Rock Band 4 support at the beginning of 2024, they figured they could start talking about it much more openly. The name Milohax derives from Milo, Harmonix's in-house engine used for the vast majority of their games. Not just Rock Band, but also the early Guitar Hero games and other games of theirs like Dance Central. And as you can probably guess from that, Rock Band 3 is not the only game that Milohax has worked on. There are several Harmonix games that they have mods for, including several deluxe versions that greatly expand upon the original games. Rock Band 3 Deluxe is their flagship project, and the decompilation was born out of that. It turns out Milo uses a custom scripting language that makes a lot of modifications very doable, and that's primarily what they've been using to pull off their mods so far. However, as you might expect, there are limitations to what they can do when they can't modify the engine. As such, the need for an actual recompilable codebase started to become bigger and bigger. Additionally, if they had the source code for one Milo game, they'll have a lot more information about how other Harmonix games worked too. Thanks to discoveries found by the Decomp, someone has already been able to transplant a character from Dance Central into Rock Band 3, so you can see how knowledge on these games is all interconnected. While a PC port is definitely on their minds, the bigger goal is to just have maximum flexibility with future mods. A lot of things that they and the community want just aren't possible with what they have access to at the moment, so having actual code will make everything a lot easier. Now you might be wondering, why the Wii version?
Come on now, Wii? Come on, that little controller, baby, that looks like a deal.
Why choose the weirdest and least powerful console to decompile from? Well, the reason why is spelled out in their Rock Band 3 Deluxe site. It's apparently the only version of Rock Band 3 without LTO. LTO, or link time optimization, is something I've encountered in my own reverse engineering projects too. Essentially, after all the code units have finished compiling, the linker, which binds all of the compiled machine code into a single executable, takes another look at all of the code and tries to optimize it further. It's the only time when optimization can be done with the whole program in context. This is great for performance, but a disaster for reverse engineering. It makes machine code that's already pretty hard to read almost impossible because LTO'd code follows no rules and no conventions. It's literally whatever the linker could do to make the code run faster, and from a decompilation standpoint, the resulting binary code can be virtually unrecognizable to what the source code was going in. The lack of LTO made the Wii version an obvious frontrunner, but it actually got even better. One day, a developer Wii was spotted on eBay, and in the photo was a clear picture of Rock Band 3. Now, developer units like this tend to be expensive, but the Milohax team didn't let that stop them. They pulled together as much money as they could, eventually only having to pay $36 per person, and managed to pick it up. And it paid off immediately. Not only did the unit have a debug build of Rock Band 3, it also had several earlier builds, each of which provided further information that helped with decompiling. So at that point, obviously, the Wii version ended up being the most sensible. As for why Rock Band 3 over the more fan-favorite 2, well, other than Rock Band 3 being more featureful and therefore having a more advanced engine allowing a lot more room for modding potential, Rock Band 3 was also the most documented of the series due to prior reverse engineering work done for a mod called RB3 Enhanced. Right now, the decomp is just over 40% complete, which is good progress for one that's only been in development for about a year. Additionally, if you're interested in helping and have the skills to do it or contribute in other ways, they'd love to hear from you. So huge shout out to everyone working on it, and an even bigger shout out to the Nathanator and Hugh2Basic35 for letting us interview them for this video. I can't wait to hear more about it in further updates. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys.